Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Somewhere over there is Jack. This is Conrad, and this is the Footy 5 with our Week 3 best guess. Looking at three matches. The Liverpool-Arsenal match being the marquee matchup. A mid-table battle, with air quotes, between Norwich and Chelsea. And then Villa and Everton, and also some thoughts on Paul Pogba, as well as everyone's favorite manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. Jack, what do you say about this 2-1 versus 1-2? I guess last week was a bit of a wash. Can't really say anything definitively.
Very fine margins. The Paul Pogba penalty miss from both of us having an additional win in that column, as well as a VAR call on the match between Spurs and City being the big difference between them. And that would have been a flip of 2-1 on your side to a 1-2 now for you.
It's early.
I'm not complaining.
It's early. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in what I'm saying this week, so we'll see how this works out. I may go 0 for 3. Who knows?
Exactly.
All right, we start out with this marquee match at the top of the table, Liverpool-Arsenal. Here is that table. Is it too early for this to matter?
Honestly, it is. But you look at it, Arsenal have always struggled at Anfield. And this will be, again, another true sign of can they handle playing against the biggest sides and go up match to match with them? Because obviously their strength is at the front, not at the back. Liverpool used to be that way, but now they're more well-balanced. But in the midfield, they've shown a bit of fragility. So the question, I think, in that match is going to be who can dominate the midfield the most? Because, both sides will be attacking a ton in the front end, but whoever's midfield outperforms the other one could play the difference in this big shootout.
I think Ceballos will make a big difference for Arsenal here. This will be his first time traveling to Anfield in the club.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts. He's a very promising player, and he looks great. And Arsenal fans are loving him, and then people are saying, all right, we can't love him too much. He's only on loan. We don't want to get attached.
There's
to
no
this guy.
buy clause in that loan?
No buy clause in that. And so if Real Madrid are seeing him dominate the Premier League,
thanks for coaching him up for us.
Throw him back into that side. Exactly. Thanks for paying his
So
wages.
here's Emery's thoughts on this. Read this. For us, we don't want to play against Liverpool ever. We'd prefer not to play against them. I think what you're missing in this quote is the jest in his voice, but obviously I also think there's truth in it. He's a little bit nervous.
Yeah. Oh, if you could avoid playing against one of the best teams in Europe, you'd avoid them, obviously. And they've had a long track record of struggling at Anfield, and they're going to have to go there again. And Liverpool players love playing at Anfield against
They always seem to rise to the occasion, especially these front three. This was a crazy statistic.
Firmino, Mane, and Salah, all of them have scored in all of their home games against Arsenal, which is just a crazy stat to think about. Because if you then say, no, that can't possibly be right, but then you rack your brain, you're like, well, a lot of them have been big goal games, 4-1, 5-1. It's been a long time since they've gotten a good result at it.
I had to actually go and look this up, because when you sent this over, I was like, that can't be true. But it is.
Yeah, but because think about it, Salah
This is only his third
and last
season.
year, or 2 years ago, was his debut year. Exactly. So they've also been very spread out. So it's crazy to think about it that way, but it is.
And Firmino has
in
had
fact
at least
very true.
one hat trick against Arsenal in that time. They've all...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he absolutely dominated in that match, where he Liverpool fans, whenever you see arguments on football Twitter, it's one of the best things. And whenever an Arsenal fan is talking back to a Liverpool fan, they'll always post that image of Firmino dribbling past Herrera as his face is in the dirt, and it's one of the funniest images on
No
Twitter.
bias. This statement from Socrates looks ridiculous when you look at it, where he says maybe it's more easy to defend against Liverpool than it is against Burnley, which obviously we know is not true. Burnley are simply much more physical playing side versus...
Exactly. And so you don't have to worry about that aspect of the game versus more of a tactical one where they're going
the
to try and
positioning,
attack
the
that
speed,
aspect of things.
that's how Liverpool beat you. They don't have to worry about the physical side of it at all. All right, in the prediction, I've got it 3-1 to Liverpool. Jack, you've got it 4-2. Either way, that's a lot of goals.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as a bit more of a shootout than you do. I think that Liverpool, a better defense, but they've looked a little fragile. It comes from the midfield. They haven't had as much stability, and I think that it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I think we still favor the home field advantage of Liverpool, but it's not going to be the dominant 5-1, 4-1, even 3-1 results. You have it 3-1. I think it's going to be a much closer match than that in the years past. I still think Liverpool have enough to get one over Arsenal in this time.
I think a lot of it's going to come down to how well Adrian plays out from the back. You know, he's made that howler of an error in the last match.
If he can avoid his errors, they'll be in a better spot.
Yeah, he's just got to not try to be Alisson and play out from the back the way Alisson does. I think that's the key.
He's a good shot stopper, but not that good in that aspect.
And he did have a lot of good things to say about the Liverpool defense. He's like, it's easy to play keeper in front of these animals playing defense, right? I just can't give the ball away. All right, now we have our mid-table battle, said in jest, between Norwich and Chelsea at Carrow Road. This will be interesting. Lampard. Seems like that's the Chelsea storyline. Lampard and Pulisic here in the United States.
Exactly. I mean, I think that Chelsea are in a really weird spot as a club as a whole. They're in a transitional period, and they have a lot of young players in their first-team squad, so they are a perennial top-6 club. Every year they're finishing in that spot at least. But now you have to say, do your expectations have to be tempered because of what's happened? You have the transfer ban. You lost your best player. So now you have to say maybe you do have to take a step back, and now just getting your first win will be a step forward. And trying to keep that pressure off of the team is a big thing that Lampard's going to have to do to make sure they don't falter too much.
I think the key is probably going to be Conte, whether he's able to play. I think he is. He obviously came out and played well in the game against Liverpool in the Super Cup, but
he was the difference between the 4-0 Maulin at United versus the 2-2 draw in Istanbul. 100% the difference.
I think Pucky is going to score goals. We said this in the beginning. People, obviously at Joel Kituku is concerned they're going to get torn up. He's the first player to score that many goals in his first 2 appearances, according to Opta Joe. Granted that 3 of those goals did come against Newcastle, who we both have pegged to go down. But there's
a bit of an asterisk next to whenever you score against Newcastle.
But he does look good, and I think he's going to be the difference for Norwich, to be honest with you.
100%.
And then, is that Ned Stark or Dan Fark? I'm not sure. Is it Winter is coming? They look eerily the same. He's got some Sean Bean in him.
He definitely does.
Moving on to predictions. Norwich, I've got it 3-2. This probably isn't one of my better, more intelligent. This feels a little bit more emotional for me. I'm hoping that the little guy can get one over on the big 6 opponent.
I just think that Chelsea are going to take over. They're going to say, all right, we have that big club culture still. That's not gone away, even though we haven't had as much talent as we have had in years past. They're going to come up. They're even away at Norwich. I think they're going to come up and be dominant. I think Christian Pulisic, it'll be interesting to see how he performs because obviously he hasn't had the best start of his season. But there still is a lot of belief in his talent. And I think that support
he had the
that he has from the club is important.
He did get the assist. Yeah, I mean, he's not bad, but he has not played a full 90 yet, I don't think. He's been brought on late and subbed off early. So.
Exactly.
All right, and down to our last match. We've got Friday Night Lights, Villa and Everton at Villa Park. It'll be interesting. The last time these two played, they had a very different side. Everton did.
I mean, Funes Mori, Lennon, and Lukaku, all of them are gone now. And
half of them aren't even in the league.
Can imagine how much different they are. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Lennon, I think, is still around, but Lukaku is over in Inter. Funes Mori in Argentina, it's very different.
Was he on loan, or had they bought him, Lukaku? Was he still on loan from Chelsea?
I forgot that situation.
So the other thing that happened around this was the out the door on 74 protest. Randy Lerner, an American owner from Villa, who had bought the club in 2006, got them out of a difficult financial issue, invested heavily in the club, but continually incurred these financial losses until he kind of stopped investing as much as he was in 2011, and the club just kind of really started to struggle. They were eventually sold to Tony Shea, who, again, he began investing very, very heavily, trying to get them up. They lost the title match in the championship before they ended up getting promoted again last year. But that was only after Nassif Sawiris and Will Stevens took a 55% stake in the club. They were on the verge of financial fair play problems. They had tax problems. So this is, again, 3 years ago in March, they had 20% of the stadium walked out. They were just so fed up. And this is a club that had been in the Premier League or in the top division, Premier League for 24 years, top division for 29 straight years.
Exactly. Yeah, and they've had a lot of issues with that, but we're hoping that they're back to their glory because it's a lot like those historic teams of Premier League past. You like to see the new guys, but it's also just nostalgia and the power that those old teams bring that just makes the Premier League feel like a special league.
Yep. No,
Villa are one of those teams.
Villa's absolutely one of those teams, and they were they played in the first Friday night match and they won, and they haven't won a match since. They've only played in 5 additional Friday night matches. Meanwhile, Everton have won 5 of their last 8, so they've done a little bit better in these Friday night matches. But again, this being at Villa Park, sets up to be a pretty interesting matchup. McGinn, this is a statistic after week 1, but he's been a big difference maker for them. Are we keeping you awake?
100% has, and I think that they are they're a team that are going to rely on guys like him to step up. Tyrone Mings in that Spurs match was really dominant, and he was also very good. Came from deep and scored that goal. They're going to need guys like him to be difference makers and be able to push you over the edge. I think they have enough talent to stay up. You do as well. But they're winless in their first 2 matches, so that does begin to draw a bit of concern. So you begin to think, well, especially against Everton's defense, which has not conceded a goal yet this season, only won in England's top 5 divisions, you begin to think this is kind of a tough ask to try and pick up some points against Everton. And we have a bit more optimism than maybe I'm alluding to, but I think that it's going to be a really interesting matchup to see how Villa perform in these high-pressure stakes.
It's too early to panic. I agree with what you're saying, but I think Villa need the points here. I think they've got to get a good result at home. Interestingly, according to PremierLeague.com, Villa have won more matches and scored more goals against Everton than any other club in the Premier League. They've won 18 victories and 68 goals. What's that?
They don't have to go feast on that, try and get back to the team that you've always dominated against whenever you're in a bit of a time of struggle. It's always nice to have.
But Everton's only lost 2 of their last 15 Premier League matches against Villa. So, Who knows? Throw all that garbage out. It's meaningless for the most part. On to the predictions. Again, I think this is a bit more of me wanting the newly promoted side, and these are far from a little club. Obviously, they've got $10 billion in ownership money behind them. But I've got it down 2-1. You've got it as a draw.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they outspent Everton, both on net spend and on just, if you looked at their spend totals. That's a crazy thing to think about. A newly promoted side being able to spend that much money. We saw Fulham last year. We saw Wolves last year as well. Spend a lot of money. And Villa following in that same mold. It's a crazy amount of money. Yeah. It's a crazy amount of money. More than several top 6 sides combined. I mean, it's remarkable how much money they have spent.
I don't know what their financial fair play situation looks like because of what they got themselves into a few years back with Tony Shea. But because they didn't sell
hoping
anybody.
that it's not going to be an issue.
Yeah. All right, on to Pogba here. And this has been a difficult week for Pogba and for a number of players who've taken a ton of racist abuse on Twitter. It's been disgusting to be honest with you. Maguire, Rashford, and Lingard have all stepped up to support Pogba. He missed the penalty, didn't miss anything. Patricio made a great save, but as a result, all the Twitter trolls came out and just did what they do, and it was horrifying. It was just disgusting to see.
It's tough to watch. I mean, if you're a United fan, a lot of it comes from United fans, is what they're talking about. If you are a Manchester United fan, you back the players, even in times of trouble. And to go to like this racist abuse, it's just tough to watch, and it's tough for a guy like Paul Pogba. He's not a bad guy. He didn't step up to the spot attempting to miss it. He stepped up because he won the penalty and had confidence in his ability. He missed.
End of story.
In a children's game that is played in front of millions. You have to take a step back sometimes and look at what you're doing and say, this is just a guy who's trying to entertain people, trying to take you away from the problems of the world. And here you are dragging them back in because of people who are on Twitter doing things like that. And it's really tough to watch.
There's no place for it at all. I think
no place for it.
Today this came out. Today being Wednesday, Twitter has said, "Okay, we'll sit down with United. Anybody else in the Premier League that wants to hear what we're doing, in addition to kick it out." They've come out with a statement that's they've maintain an open and healthy dialogue. We'll put this on this over the screen, but it has no place on our platform. We strongly condemn it. Over the next few weeks, Twitter representatives will meet with Manchester United, Kick It Out, and any other civil society stakeholders interested in hearing about the proactive work Twitter is doing to address online racist abuse towards certain footballers in the UK. It's not certain footballers. It's any footballer who is getting torched on Twitter that doesn't unnecessarily. To this end, we look forward to working more closely with our partners to develop shared solutions to this issue. That's to your point, at United Henry, this tweet is a message to all United fans attending the Crystal Palace game on Sunday. Give Paul Pogba an incredible reception and back him for the full 90. Show that we value him here at United and we stand against any racist abuse directed towards him.
Focusing more on the field of things, the penalty miss, I'm not as concerned as you are. We talked about this in the preview video or the review video of week 2. I'm not as concerned about the miss on the field. At the end of the day, having multiple guys who are confident the spot is good. And if one of them wants to step up, and one of them at one moment, and one of them wants to step up at a different moment, that can always be good. But they're never going to make every single one. There's going to be some.
The goalie has a job to do, and he's going to do that job less often than he would like. But I do think to take the pressure off of the players in that circumstance, Solskjaer has to name a penalty taker. If that penalty taker isn't in the match at that time, because then you take away that level of opportunity for criticism and this situation that we have. True. If Rashford is named as the penalty taker, fine. If Pogba, fine. It does not matter to me, but I think in order to just smooth it over with the players and then ultimately potential fan reaction, nothing is going to solve that problem until we just become better human beings as a society. But
exactly.
I just think
on the other side of things,
I think Solskjaer can do his part and just take that pressure away. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. But
there's a lot of storylines around that match. Obviously, there was the racism around Pogba, his penalty miss, and then there's also Nuno Espirito Santo, just a phenomenal manager. And the feel-good story almost is how much we like Nuno Espirito.
We love Nuno. Wolves are good. Look at the beard. That beard is spectacular. It's wonderful. I have beard envy. That beard is amazing. And his Twitter handle, he's only tweeted 57 times, @Nuno. It's great. Like, how do you? This is why we love Nuno. It's actually not really why we love Nuno. Really, he's a great manager, and he's done a great job with that team, brought in great players. And this stat here from the sack race where he's taken 23 points off Big Six since the start of last season.
Which is a crazy amount of points, if you think about it. Like, he is one of the most... You look at Wolves now, it's a lot of football is about reputation. Wolves are a side that you're afraid to play against for your top 6 side because they are known for being not afraid of you. They believe that they are close to making it a top 7 or a top 8 because they are close to where they are in terms of their level. And ultimately, the 1-1 draw in that match was a fair result in the end, I think. I think United didn't do enough to win that match, and if they had, they would have won the game, ultimately. And so I think that it just shows that Wolves are a side to be reckoned with.
Yeah, you cannot take them lightly at all. He's had thoughts on VAR, and I think this is the most interesting take on it, I think, of just taking the emotion out of the game and the concern he has there of not being able to celebrate and you lose some of the stadium atmosphere and some of that home field advantage where you're scoring for your own.
That's 100% the only con you can have to VAR. You look last year when Sterling celebrated scoring the winner in their quarterfinal tie against Spurs, and you look at Jesus scoring the winner against Spurs. Both those that Eddie had. Those are memories you will remember for the rest of your life as a player. And the fans especially, you'll say, I was there whenever they scored that winning goal. But now you always have that element of, is this real? And obviously, if it's an illegal goal, shouldn't stand. But it does remove some of the passion, which that's what makes football so special, and it's tough to remove that as well.
But here's the job that Nuno Espirito Santo has had to do thus far this year, and also what he's got in the next 8 or 9 days, right? This is an insanely packed fixture schedule. This is the perils of the qualifying rounds of the Europa League, where you've got home and away against Crusaders, FC Punic, Torino, all wrapped around 4 Premier League matches. So that's 8 European matches that they didn't have to deal with last year.
It's so tough to deal with, and it just shows that they've managed to keep themselves treading. They have not lost a game. They've only got 2 points out of 6 in the Prem, but against United, you would have possibly pegged them for a loss. We both had them losing that game 2-1. but he's just done a great job rotating and keeping the side ready.
Well, and he's had to get a little extra support for the side, obviously, in the transfer window. But this is going to be a testament and a test of his man management and leadership skills moving forward. And it's going to really showcase his true talent and ability to lead the team. All right, that does it for us for the Week 3 preview. Give us a like, comment, and a subscribe. We appreciate it. For Jack, somewhere over there, Conrad, this has been the 45. We appreciate your support. Take care now.